You cannot just adopt all the new things that are basically popping up here and there. So you also need first to be a little bit selective, to understand the why you need these new technologies, and then to have a real process to move from the pure, I would say, proof of concept to something more like production ready.
What will be the most disruptive business trend or development that you foresee?
Yeah, what I'm going to say is not like super new, but it's like what I call the real usage of data. So you see basically many companies using data for quite limited things, for like reporting, a little bit of dashboarding, and you also see many companies considering like AI for like when in a report you see something moving from green to red, for example. Of course, this is not data, this is not AI, this is not machine learning, right? So I still what's important there is to see what kind of use cases what could be beneficial for your organization, why. So I really think that using real data, connecting data with the applications, making the applications also more efficient, more automated, and more like intelligent at the end of the day is going to be a big shift in the coming years. It's not going to be done like in 24 hours. It's going to take time, money, and of course resources. But I really see that as like a big trend for the coming years.
And in that sense, is data maybe one of the areas of technology that is most overlooked?
Data is clearly, I would say, overlooked. I really think that there you have basically two parts. You have data in itself, because doing data means close to nothing. It's like you need data quality, you need data governance, you need processes, you need data people as well. And even like within the data people, you have different kind of skills, of course, that you need to make real data related projects. So data is clearly one where most of the companies will need to invest more, and would say more and more in the coming years. And the other one is also the technical debt in itself. It's a little bit like security. It's not super sexy to sell. It's very expensive, time consuming. You need people. It will take time. So, but I mean, it's really key that you don't get blocked because of your technical debt, because you have some solutions that are basically completely out of support, that are basically completely outdated. And then one day you want to do something that is a little bit new, a little bit of an innovation, I would say, but you can't do it. You can't do real time because you have this and that system basically that are basically not ready for that. That's also something that you need to pay attention to, I would say.
Technology can be an amazing business enabler, but new solutions are also often disruptive or challenging.
Yeah.
It requires change management. How do you decide what technologies to invest in?
I would say really based on what we just discussed, I would say for me it's really important. I really love technology, of course, being a tech guy, but I also want to make sure that when we adopt technologies, we have like a process also to industrialize that. Because of course, when you're a company like us and you are like in plenty of countries with different services, you cannot just adopt all the new things that are basically popping up here and there. So you also need first to be a little bit selective, to understand the why you need these new technologies, and then to have a real process to move from the pure, I would say, proof of concept to something more like production ready. So, and that process is really, really important. So I'm saying that not because I'm against POCs, but because I really want to make them successful as well. So if we have a good reason to industrialize, we need to support the process as well. It's part of the game. Doing just POCs will not bring any value to the company long term. What will bring value is to move from the POC, so really R&D, new things, basically to the production environment.
And does that then require a better qualifications of those POCs?
At least you need to understand why you want to start the POC, because you cannot put, let's say, as a CTO, your resources all over the place just doing POCs, to be honest. So you also need to, and if you don't put enough resources, enough focus, and enough budget on the POCs, they will never land, right? So when you start a POC, you need to make sure that you know why, you understand clearly the why, that you put like sufficient effort to make it a success, right? And then that you have a process in place to industrialize. So it's really how I see that. At the end of the day, R&D and POCs should really be as well a kind of organized process. Of course, the goal is to be disruptive. The goal is to test new technologies as well, new tools, new solutions. But at the end of the day, it's not only to do POCs and then to close the shop. It's also to move to the production systems.